Salve omnes, welcome to this week's video tutorial. Unfortunately, I have a bit of a sinus infection because of seasonal allergies. So this video will be somewhat short, and I will make next week's video longer. So we're going to take a look at the myth of Daedalus and Icarus, which many of you are probably familiar with. This is an adapted version from Ovid's more famous story of Daedalus and Icarus. Ovid himself, who uses many other Greek sources. If you want to try your wits with Ovid's text, you can take a look at Ovid's Metamorphoses in Book 8, where Ovid tells the story of Daedalus and Icarus. So, following the last chapter and Theseus and the Minotaur, as you know, Daedalus was the inventor or the architect of the labyrinth, and he built it for King Minos as a kind of prison. And this inventor plays a prominent role in the narrative that we discussed, as well as other stories. So let's take a look here. What we got here is Quintus, who again is one of the main characters. He's a Roman noble boy in this particular version, and he's with his nanny, so to speak, Sira, who is telling him some stories. And he continues here. Make it a little bit larger here. None, as you know, means surely, and in Latin, we use none when we expect the answer to be no. So, for example, I'm looking outside today, and it is rainy and cloudy. And if I were to say something along the lines, surely it's a sunny day. Of course, it isn't a sunny day because it's cloudy and rainy, and so the answer would be no. Or surely you don't mean that. No, I don't mean it. So it has other functions, but that's sort of the sense here. So surely King Minos followed. This is where we get the word to persecute. Here we have some helpful vocabulary on the side. So this is one thing about this. We need to recognize that this passive form of the verb persecutus est is the full form of the verb. So in other words, your Latin is probably good enough by now to recall. You don't want to interpret this as the present tense because we want to translate it as the past tense. So this is our perfect passive form of the verb, and we can simply just translate it as followed. So surely King Minos followed Theseus. So here's Theseus as our second declension accusative singular ending, with Ariadne fleeing. Now here, fugientum is a third declension present participle agreeing with Thesium, because both are in the accusative. So em is third declension accusative singular. So we put all together is that surely King Minos followed the fleeing Theseus with Ariadne. So you may recall in the last chapter that Ariadne left her father Minos to sail away with Theseus for Athens. And Sira says, certainly the king began to follow them, but the ship of Theseus was too fast. That one's pretty straightforward. They give me some other examples of a fast horse, or a fast ship, or a fast spear. So this is the word for fast or quick in Latin. So once again, certainly the king began. So this is the past tense of incipio. So that's our present form. And then here's our perfect passive infinitive, to follow them, in the accusative plural, but the ship of Theseus. It's pretty straightforward. Second declension, genitive singular is I, the letter I, and then was too quick. Minos, although he navigated quickly, so although he sailed quickly, was not as quick as Theseus. So was not as quick as Theseus. Nor, so neque means nor, was he able to follow him. So clearly the idea is that Theseus' ship was too fast. Then, so to is just an adverb, then the angry king, this is where we get the word irate, began, or rather not began, but captured Daedalus. And we'll find out the reason for that in a second. So then the angry king captured, so this is the past tense of capio, capere, capi, captum, captured Daedalus, who had made the thread and had given it to Ariadne. So remember, it was Daedalus who had invented the thread because he was the person who built the labyrinth, and so he built the thread Ariadne, who in turn gave it to Theseus so that he could find his way out from the labyrinth after he had killed the Minotaur. And, que means and, ordered him to be literally included or to be imprisoned in the labyrinth with his only son, Icarus. So he was so angry over Theseus's killing of the Minotaur and his daughter leaving him that he took it out on Daedalus, who had seemingly helped Ariadne in the entire adventure, and now he throws him in the labyrinth that he himself made, that is Daedalus. Truly, literally, truly father, excuse me, truly father and son fled miraculously from that labyrinth. Once again, we got to go back and put it in sound English. And so, excuse me, this is why it's going to be a short lesson. So, truly, the father and son miraculously fled from the labyrinth. Now here, Sierra is basically saying that eventually, so you might even say eventually. In fact, they tell us, but. So, but the father and son miraculously found a way out from the labyrinth. And then Sierra says, tomorrow I will tell you a all right, sorry about that. I had to pause it and get a drink of water. So he says, or Sierra rather says, tomorrow, bo be 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 boo, I will tell to you about their escape. So de fuga here means their escape. And you can see some of their helpful vocabulary here on the side. Today, I do not have, so as you know, Latin doesn't use do or does. So non habeo plus temporis means more time, ad random, to tell you a story, or to now, or already in this case, I have already literally consumed an hour in telling you a story. And here she's talking about the previous chapter, or the previous story when she told Quintus the story of Theseus and Ariadne, or Theseus and the Minotaur. So I have already spent an hour telling you a story, i.e. I got to get back to work. But then Quintus says, literally, nor time better to use you were able. So what does that mean? Is that, but you spent your time well, you might say. Non opetet, so literally not, it is not fitting in middle story end of telling to do. So in other words, don't leave me in the lurch. Don't stop. Don't tease me with the introduction of the story of Daedalus and Icarus. So it is not fitting to come to the end of a story while you are in the middle of telling it, referring back to the beginning of this chapter here. Quoniam means because. Could also mean since. So here, once again, so because you have already told a part of the story, you ought also to tell the remaining part. So here Quintus is saying, well, since you started it, you might as well finish it. I am prepared to listen. So again, you can go back and put this in more standard English, but I think the basic idea is fairly clear. And then to this, Sira says, therefore, because or since you want to hear it so much, I will tell you the rest of the story. Well, if you really want to hear it, and then I will spend more time with you. I will stay here and tell you the rest of the story. Okay. And then so she begins here. Daedalus, imprisoned in the labyrinth with his son. So Daedalus, inclusus, imprisoned in the labyrinth. So here, as you know, anytime we use where, we generally use the ablatives of second declension. The ablative singular is o, and then cum is followed. In this case, it's a preposition, and so followed by the ablative. So filio, suo are both second declension, ablative singular. So Daedalus, imprisoned in the labyrinth with his son, was wandering. In other words, wandering around trying to figure a way to get out from the prison or the karkar. Was wandering around among the walls, literally between the walls and the labyrinth. But he was not able to find an exit. Although, so Etsy means although he himself had built the labyrinth. Since therefore all the ways were closed, in other words, he couldn't find a way out, that literally audacious, and here the audens also means daring, that daring man decided to escape through the air. And so those of you that are familiar with the stories, eventually he builds wax wings that allows he and his son to escape. So daring, in this case, daring and imagination is sort of the sense of it. So that daring man decided to flee through the air. So since he couldn't find a way on the ground to escape, he said, well, let's try through the air, per aere. But Icarus, who was ignoring the advice of his father, was sitting on the ground, and he said, I'm tired, as young people tend to be, right? As we know, we were young once too. Most of us generally didn't listen to our parents. And so here we have that similar incident where Icarus was ignoring the plan of his father. He wasn't listening to what his father was saying in terms of devising a plan to get out. And he was sitting, consedate, if you're sedentary, you're sitting, and then humi means on the ground. And he says, I'm tired. And he says, literally, ambulando in hoc requiem ipse nobis saedificat visi pater, is literally wandering around in this prison which you yourself have made for us, Father. So he says, I'm tired. We are wandering around in this prison which you yourself have made for us, Father. In other words, why can't you find a way out for us? Ipsi per nos hinc fugere non possimus. We are not able to to find a way from here. So hink means from here. Nor, here's the future tense because it's erit. So ero, eris, erit, erimos, eritis, erint. Nor will anybody come help us to flee, as Ariadne helped Theseus. So here he's referring back to, well, here we are trapped in here, and unlike Theseus, whom you helped, Ariadne in turn helped Theseus. Nobody else, in other words, quisquam, nobody's going to come help us. Haud means non. So literally, not long time to us remain is to live. So we don't have much longer to live, for our food is almost gone. Literally, for our food, noster kibus, has almost been consumed. I literally am already almost dead. So literally, I already almost dead. I am. So I almost feel like I'm dead, ready to die. Unless the gods will help us, we will never literally live from here. In other words, we will never find a way alive out from here. Is probably the best way to read that. But vivacious, so unless, nisi means unless the gods help us. Mur is first person plural passive. Aristur mumininuntur. We will never find a way out from here. Oh, literally, oh good gods, bring help to us. You can devise your own idiomatic translation for that, but literally, oh great gods, bring help to us. Oh immortal gods, please help us. All right, as you can see here, rather, I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to stop here at part 2. So this is not too difficult. This is a great text for you to go back and tidy up your basic comprehension of Latin. For your homework, I want you to try your hand at part 2. You can see it starts right here. So you're going to be reading and translating and sending to me. And I'll post this in an email. Part 2, let's see, it starts on line 32. See how many lines this is here. This is the disadvantage of doing it online, is moments like this where it'd be much easier to explain this in class. Yeah, we'll keep it easy for you. That might be too much, so we'll just go back, and then in my next lesson I can go over that for us as well. So let's go ahead and just do part 2, lines 32. So you'll have to pause the video and take a screenshot and write this down. But you'll be translating lines 32 through 67. So let me scroll this down so you can actually see it. Still can't really see it. There we go. All right, that's sensible. So 32 to 67. And then don't forget, you have a little bit of help on the sides. Don't forget with Whitaker's words. I think it's fairly not too difficult. Once again, this Latin actually is very good Latin. It's classical Latin. The difference, of course, is once you get to the unadapted Latin, there's a lot of missing words. So if you do look at Ovid's original, you would see it's much more difficult, just because English uses a lot of vocabulary to create meaning, whereas classical Latin, you could have one word, but in translating it, you would need 3 English words. And so you sort of know that by now in terms of syntax. All right, so next week I will do a longer lesson. And as always, please Just email me or post any comments you have. Also, next week, we'll start talking about the next assessment. The next assessment will be based on Theseus and the Minotaur and Daedalus and Icarus, and will consist of vocabulary and translation and reading comprehension. And we can talk more about what that looks like in next week's lesson, also via Blackboard discussion.